No different counties or something.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order, say the pledge to flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, welcome everybody to our February meeting. Do I have any additions to the agenda? Kenny? No. Amy?
No,
Paul?
No.
Christie?
I'd like to discuss a general fund transfer.
Bradford?
Yes.
And I don't have anything, I got a question for Jason when it comes up, so. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, the bills and the minutes? So. Second,
Second,
all those in favor, say yes.
yes.
Opposed, motion carries. Employee time. Paul?
I just wanted to announce, you are all aware that Ed Sivney has resigned his, tax director position. I really hate to see Ed go, it's gonna be a tough shoes to fill, but he is moving on. I did visit with Tanya about it and we are, she's preparing an advertisement for the paper and being sent out to all the tax directors association. So we're moving forward with advertising the position. I just wanted to find out, we are advertising it as a full-time this time. And it was 80%.
Yeah.
The other change is I think we're gonna remove the GIS from the job description for now. We're scared that if we have that in there, it's gonna limit the number of applications and, not exactly sure what's gonna happen with the GIS. Ed has said that he would be interested in contracting with the county if we don't have someone that fits that role. So we'll be looking for that in the interviews, but it won't be a requirement of the position. So I just wanted to let everybody know that publicly.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, he will, remember the day we hired him. That'll be greatly missed, his knowledge and just the way he handled people.
Just temperament.
Yep, I remember that Souls Committee and, you know, what we went through there and all the people, I don't wanna say mad, but just not happy. And all the stuff that he did and, you know, controlled it, and got him calmed down and explained it. To me, that's one of his, besides his knowledge, I said, his ability to handle people was just unreal. So, yeah.
Does anybody have any questions or thoughts on the job description or the advertising or any input?
I would have some, I think this would be a good time to look at us. We've talked several times over the years about moving planning and zoning out of the auditor's office to try to relocate or to evenly distribute the workload, I should say. And I really think this would be a good time to consider that. I think planning and zoning would fit well in the tax director's office. And if we're increasing that job from 80% to 100%, maybe there's some room there. So that's one thing I would like to see, just a suggestion. Another suggestion I would have is having, and we've talked about this since the day of Chris Moldy being here, that the auditor treasurer's office really has, you know, a heavy workload. And they still do work with the deeds. Quite, you know, they update the deeds. I don't know if update is the correct word.
we update our
Record
system forward, yeah.
And back to the days of when Chris Moldy was here, we had her do some checking to see what other counties do. And a lot of counties don't have the auditor treasurer's office do that because they already have a heavy workload. So it falls on to say maybe the tax director's office. So that's something else I think maybe would be a good time to research if we could redistribute some of this workload now.
Oh, yeah, Thanks for bringing that up because, I mean, that is part of the conversation Tanya and I had and we were kind of thinking that maybe it would be a good idea. Maybe get everybody together, the two portfolio holders and the second floor and see what we can do to alleviate some of that,
Okay,
some of those problems, so.
I just didn't know if you needed it for the job description when you were talking about the advertisement and that type of thing.
Yeah.
If that needs to be in there or how far you guys are along in that process.
Yeah, I'll double check that with
Okay.
time.
If nothing else, you could probably, when you get to the point of interviewing people, you could tell them that you're thinking about moving it.
Mhm.
I know we've done that with the highway department when we're in the process of, we just tell them that we're thinking about it and this is a possibility, so. At least you're not throwing them in the wind.
Mr. Chair.
It's,
Is, like, when you talk about the deeds, that type of thing, that, to my mind, but is the recorder in the tax director's office? Is that, like, I think of,
They have two separate offices.
okay,
Yeah, it's separate.
cause that's the only thing that kind of just with limited history of that, but when you talk about deeds, et cetera, recorder is kind of what jumps into my head as far as where that would go. or
Well,
where
they
that
do
could
the
go.
initial work on the deed, but then someone
It has
else
to
has, it has to go through like a second step.
Okay,
second,
Right,
sort of like checks and balances.
Right. Mhm.
I think they like separate people doing that.
sure, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the recorder though is close proximity, at least in,
Right, just right next door, so it'd be, I mean, not that it's hard to walk across the hall, but it's really more so about trying to evenly distribute some of this workload. And this isn't a new conversation, this is a conversation that's been going on since Chris Moldy was here. We looked at it back then, so.
and I think that that is a huge, I also think that that's vitally important that we're looking at those things because there is something to be said about job satisfaction or the lack thereof when you're asked to do a lot of work for another department. And it's hard to be able to say, well, you're not busy enough here, we're gonna add more, and yet they may be not doing their job to the fullest then. So I think that's a really good way to start fresh, or at least try to peel back and say, okay, what job duties make sense? Yeah.
And I just think, oh, excuse me, and I just think now with our 20%, if we're going to put this position back to 100%, we've got, 20% here time. Granted, Ed knew his job and he knew it well,
Right.
so a new person coming in maybe is gonna need a little more time than Ed needed, but there is still some cushion there, right?
Tremendous learning for.
Yes.
Big loss, yep.
And Ed was gifted that way, he could do it in 80%,
Yeah.
what people do in 100. It is, so, more power to them, I guess. Any other questions on this, or?
I also have one thing for employee time, we got all set up with the village, employee assistance program. They can be on site on February 17th, which is our next, commissioner meeting. For their on-site orientation, if we want to set it up for that date, I can, get back to them or let Tony know and she can get back to them. If you guys wanna be a part of it and we do it that day.
Mr. Chair, I'm thinking of Tim, new emergency manager, who doesn't start until March 1st, or if anyone's not able, do they have options, I guess, like, could we have it on Zoom or some way virtual so
Sure
that
they
they
would.
can partake at least in getting that?
Mhm. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Just so that if people are sick or unable or something, they're not getting nothing.
I could probably push it to after March 1st.
Too. I don't know if that's necessary, I just think having more than one option, if
Sure.
they're open to it, is a good.
Does it need to be on the day of the commission meeting? I don't.
Yeah. And do it,
Okay,
maybe if they can do a Zoom, then wait till March 1st. We'll take
okay,
that.
sure,
Yeah,
sure.
Another half a month, they get them
you
in.
let me know if you need me to connect with him or whatever, I can.
Ken, Mr. Chairman, can I ask Ron and Jason, how do you guys feel about waiting a couple more weeks, or do you think it's something that should get done right away?
I do not, I think we should wait till Tim gets here.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
As long as we know we have access to it.
If you need it.
Okay.
We've had it before and I think the department heads are well aware of what it is and So it's more for the employees, but I think we should wait.
If he can be a part of it,
Yes.
sure,
Okay,
okay, we will ask to reschedule, well, we didn't set it up yet, but we'll ask for it to be at a later date.
Mr. Sharp, the village is active though, like when they ask, okay, so that's.
any other questions on the village? Okay. Tracy ain't here yet, is she not?
She's online,
Oh, okay.
she's on Zoom, let me see if I can get the TV working, so if you can wait just a minute, Tracy.
When we were kids in the airport was.
It's a change.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not letting me do the fast screen. You wanna come look, please, and. Or you click on cast screen. Yeah. Should I turn the TV back on? I know.
Supposed to close your Zoom, it's gonna be a.
But maybe I could open a new Google tab and do it.
Yeah, that might work for me.
Redo it. Redo it.
This side.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay,
That was quick.
okay, thank you, Jason. All right, Tracy, we're good.
Well, thank you for letting me appear via Zoom. I'm in our Devils Lake office today and the driving was not gonna work for me today. But I'm here on behalf of the Walsh County Historic Preservation Commission. Just as a little background, the Preservation Commission is a certified local government formed by county ordinance, and it was established back in the 80s. I think Julian Wangler was kind of instrumental in getting this going. But our group is considered an arm of the county, but we're entirely funded through grants through the National Park Service, and we apply for grant funding every year. And we just need the county to approve of our grant so that we can submit it to the State Historical Preservation Office so that we can get the funding to do the projects that we're working on. And so none of the money that we deal with here comes from the county budget. It's just an approval, that thing that we need. We also have a couple of members that right now our board is 7 members and they're appointed to 2-year terms. And we've got a number of our members that are up for a reappointment. There's no term limits on it or anything like that. I'm just looking, I can't remember if it's 3 or 4. You have to forgive me, we got COVID at our house last week, so I'm kind of not operating the way I normally am. My brain isn't working the way it normally should. But really that's what I need. I think you guys have all seen the grant application. We just need you to approve it, and if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Have you got any questions? Sure. Nothing, do I have a motion then to approve the application for? Okay,
Well, second.
so I got a motion and a second to approve the Historical Preservation Fund grant application. Paul,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Annie,
Well.
Amy,
Yes.
and me myself, yes, motion approved.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you, Tracy.
Did you need
Do we,
a?
yeah, I was gonna say,
Board members.
is she still there?
No.
We can do it without her there, can't we? Or no?
Well, did they reappoint him? She said they had several. I don't know
Oh,
if
she
they went
can
to.
give us the names.
No, that's why I thought they
They're
were.
on here, they're
Are they in here?
Uh-huh,
I thought I
they're
read
listed.
it somewhere too, but.
listed on,
Hey, Jane, or
yeah,
page 6.
Yeah.
What page?
8 or 6, sorry, well,
It says
6
both.
and 8.
6 and 8.
8 of our packets,
Okay.
6 up there.
Oh, okay.
Is in our packet?
Yeah, 8 of our packet.
Thank you for the page numbers on this. That
Yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah, Darren did that. We got it figured out.
It doesn't say which 4 were reappointed, though, did it?
No.
Is there a possibility we can get a hold of her again?
I can email her.
I'll call it.
Okay,
Thank you, Ron.
Tracy, they're looking for the names of the people that you wanna reappoint to that committee.
And the application.
It was in an email. What are the names of the people that you want to reappoint? I have you on speaker.
So the email I sent January 28th at 12:45 to Jane lists them. It's myself, Agatha Frisbee, Sarah Johnston, and Shannon Brazil.
who was the other one?
Aggie, Agatha, Tracy,
Yep.
Shannon, and Sarah.
Okay, I got the on this list then.
Yeah, she is,
Top
at the
one.
top.
Oh, there she is. I started with Dennis, okay,
Thank you, Ron.
Thanks, Tracy.
thanks, Tracy.
I would move to approve those 4 with the board.
Reappoint, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any? All those in favor of reappointing those 4 people to the board? Christie,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Jenny,
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carries. You ready? Jason?
Morning.
A couple of items for everybody today. The first is just a quick Minto Bridge update. We met with Company Green, Minto Ag, the City of Minto, the Water Board, Ernie and myself last week, and discussed the bridge. The City of Minto will be discussing it next Monday at their commission meeting or city council to discuss going forward with it to see if they're interested in doing any cost shares. That's a 7 o'clock morning. We're just kind of waiting for that to come back, and then we'll hopefully be able to meet up right after after that. We don't have anything scheduled at the moment, but last update for the estimates we put together from things will be around that $45,000 to $50,000 for our staff to do the portions of it. With that being said, there's still the aspect of do we do it or not, and those things. They do have access, that's part of what we have for other ones. There's a business site. It's private, so there's lots of different things up in the air, but that's just kind of where we're at with that one. So we'll see what the City of Minto comes back with, if they have any proposals. And go from there on that. The next one I have is the remaining funds for the flex fund project.
Just wait, Jason. Larry can't go on Monday,
Yeah.
so I'll go. I don't know if you wanna go, you don't have to go, cause I think we're just gonna take the direction of maybe listening and see what they wanna do. And then our biggest topic is the responsibility moving forward,
Mhm.
and that's the only thing I'm gonna address.
Yeah.
So it's Monday morning at 7 o'clock. I don't know what time I'm gonna be on the agenda with them, but they're gonna have it, so I don't know if you wanna go, like I said, or not, but. Paul?
Would this be different if that was not a private road? The private road versus public road seems to be an issue, and would our responsibility be any different if the city of Minto, for example, dedicated this as a public street?
I don't think so, no,
It wouldn't matter.
no.
Okay,
No, whether it's a public or a private, doesn't matter for that type of thing on it. We have the options to do repair or not, or replace or not. We've had those options going across the county, or there are bridges that are not being replaced. They're on private or not on private, they're on public roads, and just cause we can't afford to keep going where we're at with the number of bridges we have. As long as there's another route around, we've been making the hard choice to close many, so, they're not on private, so.
I think the biggest issue last week when we met with them was the responsibility going forward. I think that's the crux we gotta talk about, and we'll address that, I guess, at the meeting when I talk to them on Monday. So,
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
And I mean, we don't need to beat a dead horse on this, but this, I don't look at this as the same bridge out on some county road that we're abandoning. I mean, this is in the middle of a town. I've driven over there to see what the alternative route is, and I personally do not believe that this price tag should limit us from keeping that bridge open. It's in the city of Minto, it affects businesses, and where they're going for an alternative route, in my opinion, is setting up for a disaster at some point. So my feeling on this is we need to figure it out to be able to move ahead on this. If this was in the city of Grafton, the city of Fordville, the city of another, I would say the same thing. I just believe that this is above and beyond the fact that there's businesses there and this is convenient for them. I believe this is a safety issue that if we choose to ignore, that, in my opinion, we're just setting Minto up to have a bad situation happen at some point in the future. South, where they're going. Have you driven the road?
I've been over there.
That road was there before, when the bridge was there, and was a safety concern at that point. This bridge really has no bearing on that, except that they're getting more traffic to it. If it was a safety problem now, it was a safety problem before this bridge was closed. And that's not something that is underneath our aspect from the county to maintain and talk to people about and take care of. There is that precedent that you're talking about. You do this for here, and what's wrong, what is this problem with somebody else going and expanding, so there's a bridge that's kept that goes to a dirt road. Or another bridge that's in a town that we have to go and fully replace. There is a precedent to it, that it's a dirty slope, we have 400 or 500 bridges, there's an alternate route. So regardless of whether that crossing was there now or before, and this bridge is there, it was a dangerous thing before, and it is now. That's not something that's on us as a county to take care of.
I understand, and I understand we have to make decisions, I get that, but am I wrong that we did do something by Edinburgh? Was not the Thorson Bridge on a private road?
No, there's not.
It's a public road,
Wasn't there a bridge that was done? Wasn't
it's a public road.
public road, and
to
that,
a private residence?
And it found on the other side of the road with no access from the
Well,
other side.
now you're talking about what he was just talking about. It's a private road, but it affected, or a public road, but it affected private.
but that's their only access, that's the kicker.
And there was other access over that railroad before this. They took that crossing out, didn't they? That went over.
Well,
the road.
they closed about 3 or 4 crossings
Yeah.
in Minto,
So they had lots of access and they narrowed it down to 2 points.
Who's they?
City. You used to be able to cross right by the gas station there and go east, and then there's another one back there, so. It's a long story and it goes way back when.
I'm aware.
Yeah,
There was other access to that point that they decided to take out.
Right,
And they
Well,
narrowed themselves down to 2 points.
and since the elevator was sold way back when,
Yep.
and the whole structure or the area of the elevator, what they do. Changed, so now, that's why they left the one, I still think that's why they left that one there in case they needed it. But, you know, I guess what scares me is precedence, and we can get into a lot of stuff if we do it. Now, I'm willing to help them. Like I said, it's just, I don't know what I said. I don't know what they're thinking yet, so I can't really say much, but I think we can come to some terms and get it done.
Cost share deal,
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
the 3 entities.
I think so. Don't you?
So,
Mr. Chair, and then the bridge agreement is what you're talking about, like that needs to be updated then.
Well, I
Because,
don't know if needs to be an agreement. It's our bridge and we're responsible.
or the maintenance,
Yeah, we're responsible as a county. It's our bridge.
but isn't the maintenance agreement that's current not accurate?
it's not legal document, so it's not accurate for that aspect.
But you're saying if we do something, it's pretty null, because if we do it, it
It
we're,
really comes down to the water board and the county's responsibility. Really.
Personally, I feel like if it does move forward, it should have an agreement that the city of Minto should be a part of it as well, going forward for future replacement, for future maintenance items, that they should be part of it.
Saying I
It's,
don't know if that's called responsibility or what, you know. Like Larry said, the next move would probably be 30 years from now, and if it goes, it's gonna be a box culvert or something else. And then they'll have to, the thing about that is that's a drain, so then they're gonna have to go through an assessment. And if they don't get it approved, they're SOL. That's, you're forgetting, it's on a drain, and that's the touchy thing here.
it's the replacement, they're gonna have to move a hole.
Yep, and the people, they don't have enough funds in the assessment now, so they'd have to go an assessment vote, and the people voted down, she's a done deal. So, Denny,
I don't know, I just kind of feel we're putting a Band-Aid on this and by fixing what's there,
yeah,
when you look at it, and there's a lot of water that flows through there. A culvert with a low water deal like we put around some of these, I don't know, I just think we're putting a Band-Aid on that deal.
that'll be up to the water board, they're looking
Yeah,
at it,
I
I think.
realize that,
And that's what they said, maybe they're gonna have to start thinking about a,
yeah.
except, who knows?
And I don't think a low water crossing would work there. Just.
I'm just wrong, but
Yeah.
they're having an assessment meeting on part of that drain coming up that we've all been educated
Yeah.
on, so I don't
Cause
know.
that they bringing in more people and changing the area, that is. That'll sort of indicate
It will,
we're moving forward, what
it
they're
will,
willing to do.
yeah, if that happens or not.
So I don't know if you wanna go, it's at 7, I was gonna call and get a time, but you don't have to, I can.
If you want me to, so it's up to you.
Yeah.
So. Okay. Next one was the Flex Transportation Fund Grant. So earlier we have been awarded 4 bridges through the bridge grant process. Now the rest of the funds, including the Prairie Dog grant funds, have been allocated to projects, so all the Flex Fund transfer for grant applications for this time have been set. With that, we were able to get a couple of more. You see the blue dot at the Golden Township Bridge, which in the past we had gotten funding for to get that one designed. We received the funding to construct that with a cost share on our part. Fertile Township got some for doing some roads, they submitted with KLJ. This is a Prairie Dog, so after that bucket fills, then they'll be able to do their project, but they can't start anything until they have that funding. And Forest River got funding for some roads, they're corridor roads, type roads, they get almost to their highways. They'll have some cost share that they'll have to provide for this too. Both of these projects for the townships will have to come through our office, my office, so we're waiting for the next step to get contracts in, so we get those signs, we can move forward and get started getting things bid out for those. So these are just the items that we had, from this round for Flexible Transportation Fund grants / Prairie Dog grants. There were 409 applications statewide submitted for a total of $523 million. Of that $523 million that was submitted, Walsh County submitted about $2.1 million in 10 projects. So we got 3, but it just proves that there's a lot more needs than funding that's available for these things. So there's a lot of people I was talking with last week, they got nothing, so feel very fortunate to get a couple of projects. A couple of guys were asking how we got a bridge. So, because they funded it last time through Flex Fund, that's the only reason I can tell you, but So these will be the projects that, we'll get through with the grant process from this lot for this next go around, so. It's a nice start.
I think they realize how much need we have with our bridges up there. That's the only reason we're getting them.
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Jason, can you remind me on that map what is it the roads, like what the projects are for the Forest River?
For Forest River, these will be for blading and reshaping and graveling. That's what those projects are meant for. If they put a culvert, I haven't had a chance to go through all Forest River's application to see if they did any culvert replacements. But if they submitted that as part of the project, you could actually go through and do a culvert replacement as part of this as well. But it depends on what they actually submitted for it, so.
Christie?
Mr. Chairman, so this is the end then, there's no money left,
There's nothing this go around, this is it.
so 12B's out.
12
Didn't
Bs.
Make it in.
12B is out, county 4 is out, the stuff we're looking at doing in county 11 with graveling and replacing 2 box culverts, that's out. We're just sit on those until the next round to send them back in, I guess is kind of where we're at. So it's not. It's not the news we all want to hear, but that's kind of where we're at. The other topic that was a big topic for us is the prairie dog funding itself and most things. A lot of that money comes from, well, it's all funded through the oil.
Mhm.
They're not drilling. They're not drilling and they're not putting stuff, there's less, those buckets are gonna fill a lot slower. Chance those buckets dry out. So if we look at this, all these projects, none of those would have happened without the prairie dog and not that well funding. What a lot of people also don't realize is that as those wells are productive, they don't produce as much. And there's a trigger where they don't have to pay as much into it. So there's a lot going forward that. As much as I hate to say it from our standpoint, because it's a lot easier to fill the fuel tanks now, but. Those dollars need to come up for what our barrel of oil is worth, for them to start drilling and doing those things. Because even if the well is there, to frack it, to try and regenerate it, there's a lot of money in that'll be hopefully they see the need to do it, but if there's not a return on their investment, it could be bad for us, so.
I think moving forward, what scares me is we got so many bridges and you look at this time, the bridges got accepted, but the road updates didn't. So how do we keep improving the road updates without losing bridges? It's gonna be which is priority or something, I don't know, but it's scary. It's, well,
In this special legislative session, they were talking about the legislature in the next session being $1.5 to $2 billion short in revenue compared to the last session. So that's not gonna bode well for roads and bridges or probably even our residential credit that we got this year. I don't know what's gonna happen, but it's a lot of money. I do have a question though, in terms of bridges. You know, we hear all the time, we have 500 bridges, we can't maintain. Have we ever talked about it, like doing a master plan through the county? Has that ever been done, or have we ever talked? So we can kind of strategically eliminate, is that
Quarter roads.
Yeah, we're okay with the order road system, we're working kind of through that process with it. When I'm looking at closing, I'm making sure there's other access and that there's another road that's strong enough to take the extra traffic, because there's a lot of times where it won't go to that aspect. This is before our next bridge inspections. So if you look at all these on the map, those are our bridges that are over the 20 foot that are inspected. We still have to go through and take a look at a lot of ours. We have just as many that are not on this that are under 20 feet. We're making progress in some of those too, where we're replacing with culverts instead of replacing with bridges as much as we can.
we've also worked with the townships to see which ones they want to keep open. So there's a planning process, so, I mean, that's happened quite a few years ago already, so, any.
Within 3 miles of where I live, we've had 3 bridges that have closed and been abandoned and taken out. So that we are reducing, now, nobody like to see it happen. But everybody's realizing that we just can't afford all this, so.
Yeah.
And that's why we sort of wanted the township feedback.
Yeah,
You know, which ones do you consider that are most important in your township? So we do work with them and Jason keeps track of it. So,
and we went through the prairie dog during COVID when oil dropped down below zero. And, we didn't get any money out of that. So we've been here before. But, yeah, the state is dependent on oil revenue, but then they went and gave bonuses to the commission companies that invested it's like, what in the world? I mean, they're getting their commission anyway, and then we give them a bonus on top of it.
Yeah.
any other deals on the flex fund?
The last thing I have is, I was asked to bring an update on the radon levels, and all the buildings are within numbers. The longer the fans are on, the better the numbers are getting on some of our instances, in some of our cases, so that's good. A couple of our buildings have dropped over 10 points, so that's even better. So it just tells you how bad they were, but we're moving progress, so.
And get that old dug cleared out or whatever that would.
Yeah, so in the building, we had put 2 supersized commercial ones in, and we have a contractor that's gonna be coming in to put a case around them, so you don't see the piping going up through the roof, but. Yeah, they got those in, we still had some concerns with it when we first put them in, but looks like they're on the maximum force that they can work through that.
Really?
We can't turn them up any higher.
I had a question on it, so I told him, I said, let's do an update on it. So.
No.
Any other questions on the radar?
And on a high note.
Good to hear.
Yeah, go back to our free money.
He didn't tell us what all that was gonna cost, but okay.
That's my question, is what have you spent on that?
On the radon, we're just under 30,000.
Oh, that'd be more.
Yeah, so,
Just
Hey.
under 30,000, and we're probably just under that, because the first one, just the 2 big pumps in the subs were over 25. It's the other pieces that we had done, so. We're about that 30,000.
any other questions for Jason? You feel like getting up at 7, or well, we gotta be there at 7, so
I'm up, so. I do.
that's your call. If you wanna come fine and just let me know what you decide.
Yep, we'll do,
Okay,
thanks.
anybody need a break?
Yes.
That is.
Okay, then I'm looking up there waiting for that. Amy?
Yeah.
You're up.
Alright. Okay. So in regards to the jail operating budget. To be prudent is to be wise, intentional, and fiscally careful. While the inadequacy of our current jail is undisputed, we must address a critical disconnect in our planning. Voters approved the construction of a new facility, but explicitly rejected the funding mechanism to operate it. Building a facility we cannot afford to run is not fiscally responsible. Before moving forward, I am requesting a formal, transparent presentation of a 5-year operating budget. For an accurate cost benefit analysis, this must include a line item comparison against our current expenditures for prisoner transfers and housing in Grand Forks. Furthermore, we should utilize the upcoming legislative session to advocate for state level incentives for regional jail models. Shifting the entire burden of a project this size onto local taxpayers is unsustainable. And just as a note, I've had a few leaders and taxpayers come to me. When it came to childcare funding, it wasn't a one and done at legislative session. It took, it took more than one ask and more than one advocate. Finally, our experience with both the Walsh County Child Care Center and the Relic Incubator Project proves the value of rigorous oversight. A construction consultant there has already saved the county $50,000 by scrutinizing specifications. He acts as our own rep on the planning and construction team, reading the plans and detailed specs and having familiarity with the elements being proposed. Participating in all of the planning meetings, bringing his own lens and lessons learned to this project. No one on the county has built a jail, nor has anyone on the planning team that has construction expertise. We must apply that same discipline here. We need a clear distinction between operational necessities and discretionary additions to ensure we are acting as true stewards of county resources. So until a viable operating budget is established and transparently vetted, I cannot support with proceeding with this. I have talked to Ron and I've told Ron that he is an expert in criminals. He is my sheriff and I am so supportive of that. I do think we need to call what we have when, like I told him, you have to know what you're good at and what you're not. And it's not even good, it's experience and expertise. And knowing that this consultant read the spec book, like if the Child Care Center, for an example, there were, and I'm not saying architects do this on purpose, but they had automatic light switches in the nursery. So the minute a baby would roll over, the lights would come on. I mean, things like that are caught, and that cost little by little can be really adding up because he is who acts as the one that speaks up on things to say, we don't need this, we need that. It's a huge project. And I don't know if that lays on Ron. I guess my personal feeling is when it comes to other jails that have been built, I think use what has already been done in terms of, looking at what our operating budget was prior to the consideration of this project and work with someone to say similar beds, similar cost, what does it look like for you now? I had an email that talked about, we don't even know if we need one HVAC or two for these spaces. Like, it is concerning to me that we really do not know cost going forward. And we're just trying to get something built and then hope that we have money that will come out of the general fund to run it. So that's just where I'm at with it.
Ron?
Just for reference, for the year 2025, we spent, for prisoner board, we used 5 different jails in 2025, Lake Region, so in Devil's Lake, and Forks County Jail, Cass County, Rolette County, and Pemberton County. We spent $143,000, $675.22 for prisoner board in 2025.
Say that number again, please.
$143,657.22. It was very timely, but last week I got an email from the DOCR requesting how many beds that we could contract with them. So I did some estimating. If we had 10 people for the year, for 1 year, it's $360,000. For 15 people, it's $540,000. And I think 15 beds is a reasonable amount of bed space that we could contract up for the DOCR.
How much was the 15?
$540,000.
And that's projected income from leasing them these beds?
Correct. So you take that money, the $143,000 with the 10 people, that's $503,000 and $657.22. You took the 15 people, that's $683,657.22. I think there definitely is. The marshals are still, get emails from the marshals all the time about contracting beds. So there are opportunities for us to contract beds out in this new jail. And to use that money to support our operating expenses. We estimated $240,000 additional. So I think that definitely falls in line with the projected money that if we contract 10 beds, that's, you know, $360,000. So, and 15, I think, is a very reasonable number, the contract for the DOCR.
Mr. Attorney. And I have talked to Andy Schneider from Grand Forks, and he has told me that if you want to house inmates from, you know, the feds are always looking to fill beds, from that. I will say that construction consultant side of things, we should be serious about that. We really do need to consider hiring someone that has the expertise to be our representative as the owner. I don't think it's fair to put on Ron or Jason or anyone to say you're our construction expert. I think we're wise to utilize funding. I know we pay our consultant hourly for these projects, and that's his rate, and we're just grateful to have someone that has a different, like I said, who wants to read a spec book. Ron?
No.
I mean, it's the reality, right?
I'm learning a lot about spec books and all that other stuff.
Is there any concerns about? I always think of what we have to have in the jail. So when these engineers and everything look at it, they're not putting something else in there that we don't have? Or,
I think, first of all, we have people that have built jails before. We have, Elevatus almost exclusively builds, jails. And construction engineers just built the Grand Forks jail. So we don't have companies that haven't built jails before. They have experts on staff that all they do is look at what the needs are for North Dakota's, the DOCR's needs, so to Amy's point, you know, I've never built the jail, so that is something that I'm learning as I go with this, but it is a big project for sure.
Mr. Chairman, so Amy, you seem to visit with Andy Schneider quite often. Did they hire construction? Oh, well, you bring it up quite often at our meetings that you visited with them. I guess that's where I'm getting it from. So did they hire a construction consultant to work with them when they did their jail?
Well, the only thing I can say on that is he wasn't part of building the jail. The sheriff's office took that jail over.
Right.
Once they got rid of an administrator, and his comment, which Ron, Paul and I toured, he was pretty frustrated because they had at one point, and maybe it still is, Ron, the juvenile, I mean, they have porcelain sinks in part of their jail. So he would be a good one to visit with in terms of build something that can sustain no matter who you have, instead of building for a specific population. I mean, it was lean more towards, correct me if I'm wrong, family, juvenile, to be friendlier, if you will,
Mhm.
that limits his capability of housing, you know, when you look at across the board now. So I don't know, even if it's just having a friend who's been a part of this project, a different sheriff. I'm not saying we have to put a lot of money into it per se, but I just wanna be sure that we are working with people who have gone before us and learned lessons.
And I have no doubt that Ron would reach out to others with any questions that would come up. I have total confidence in you, Ron, that you would be doing that. So I guess I was just more concerned about, okay, if you're pushing for a construction consultant, you know, I think that's a great idea. To have another set of eyes overlooking things, but what are costs? Do we know some people that work with other jails that have done this? You know, I don't think pulling someone out of the air that worked with the relic building or the daycare per se would be the right fit.
Exactly, I agree.
So that's why I was wondering if you had some insight there. The other question I guess I have in regards to your speech is, I think I heard in there that you wanted a 5-year detailed operating budget plan. Did I hear that right? Okay, do we need that after Ron gave you these numbers today?
That was helpful. I mean, I think it's realistic to know that as long as the demand is there for contracting, you know, but we're depending on hopeful numbers.
I think it's more than hopeful numbers. The DSCR put out a graph with that email about their need for housing inmates in other facilities and how their projections far outweigh the facilities they have to house people. And I think the DSCR is going to be a consumer of county beds for quite some time.
So the only comment to that is if you're gonna put 15 people in this jail and we have average of that many people, why isn't this considered a regional jail? I mean, if the state needs that
We
many.
tried that.
Been there, done that for 5 years.
I think
Have
that's.
we been to the legislature for 5 sessions? I mean, we talked about it, I agree, but that doesn't, again, it's.
Mr. Chairman.
I think Paul had his hand up first.
I agree with a lot of what Amy said, pretty much most of what Amy said. I have other concerns financially and otherwise. If we build this, the original plan had a sheriff's office. If we build this jail, we still don't have a sheriff's office. That's gonna be millions of dollars, and we have no idea where that money is gonna come from. That's a concern to me. We've committed our 10 capital project mills to the financing of the debt on this project, so there's no capital project mills to do anything else, including the sheriff's office. Our sales tax is down 18% in the third quarter of 2025 compared to 2024, and the city of Grafton was down 23%. We don't know what those numbers are gonna do in the future. At what point do we start going backwards? I don't know how much money the sales tax is gonna bring in, you know, based on these numbers, but if those numbers keep going backwards, we could find ourselves with not enough sales tax collections to cover our debt obligations. It's my opinion that a 46 bed is too big. And I think the fact that you're saying now for the first time that we can lease out 15 beds, I think you're proving my point. We've said for years that we're building this jail for Walsh County prisoners only. Now, all of a sudden, no, we can lease out 15 beds. Now, I'm not opposed to building this to lease out 15 beds, but I agree that a financial plan should be put together. Because now we're in a different game. We're leasing beds out, that's gonna add costs. So, yes, you can look at this and say 10 people is 360,000 and our estimated increased cost is 250,000, so that's a gain. But it's gonna increase costs, and that $250,000 is not a guaranteed number. In my mind, it's gonna be higher than that. So I'm concerned about that. Why not think about building a smaller jail? If we don't need 46 beds, why are we building 46 beds? And then hiring staff, we can't get a straight answer on where we are on our existing staff. And we're always told that staff's not gonna be a problem. We can't even fill the jail, we can't even staff the jail we have. Our jail's sitting there empty. We've got jailers on staff, we can't hire enough to open it back up. When is it gonna be back open? I don't know. That is one of the biggest concerns I hear from people, is that you're not gonna be able to staff this jail. I don't know if we will or not. But that is a big concern for a lot of people out there. And then there's the audits. I don't know how we can move forward with taking bids and moving forward with this when our audits are not up to date. It's been my understanding. Please, somebody tell me if I'm wrong, but it's been my understanding that we have to have our audits updated through 2024, and we're currently working on 2022. Those audits aren't gonna happen overnight. They said they're 23 and 24 will go quicker. Well, I believe that. Been working on 22 for a year and a half. So quicker, what does that mean? I would predict that those audits are gonna be done by the end of the year. So those are my concerns.
Ron,
I'd like to refute what you said, Paul, about handling other prisoners. We've never said that we weren't gonna contract other prisoners. We've always said from the beginning that this was a projected 30 years, what our needs will be in 30 years. And we would always said from the beginning that we would be able to contract some of those beds out early on in the beginning of this jail. So that's always been said.
So we're gonna have 46 prisoners 20 years from now. I mean,
We did what we could. We hired a consultant to look at the demographics and project out 30 years. Is he gonna be right or wrong? I don't know. But we did the best that what did we pay for that guy?
$150,000, whatever it was. I don't remember what we paid.
We hired professionals.
We hired professionals to give us the best opinion that we could work. And we went with their numbers.
not only that, I think we're missing a point here. We've got a lot of people that probably should be in jail that we don't have.
Totally.
And I think that's what we're missing. I remember the study and everything else, and I thought, well, stop and look at it. Is crime going away?
No, it's ever.
It's getting worse. So
Mr.
in that study, I says, I guess I never had a problem with it when, like you said, renting beds out. I got taxpayer people that say, well, if you're gonna build them, why don't you build it for $100
Build bigger.
I'm going, you guys, we can't even fund this one. But their objective was is that we can increase and get money back in by renting out for prisoner space. And I went, wow. So, Christie.
Paul, to your point, well, several points that have been beat to death here already have been discussed at length, but you keep bringing them up. And one of them is building a smaller jail. You directly asked that to Sid Samuels of the Samuels Group, and he gave you a direct answer as to why we would not, he said, I would not even suggest doing that. So why are we bringing this up again? When we've already had this answered by the group of professionals. This isn't just a few commissioners that have come up with this idea. We hired professionals to work with us on this.
I'll tell you why I keep bringing it up, because they say, I wouldn't build it. Yeah, he did say that to me. I wouldn't build a 25-bed jail. But they offer no data, no
When we
way.
started with this, we started with tons of data that we gave them. We've been working on this for now 6 years now. We're up to 6 years now, pushing 7. We gave them all the data. They requested tons and tons of data. Our jail staff, at that time, our administrator was submitting lots of data to them that they turned around, came back to us with. So I guess what I'm trying to say is this wasn't, before you were on the commission, this wasn't just a group of a few of us that are not trained in building jails making these decisions. We hired a professional group to work with us on this. And those questions that you brought up again, or concerns you brought up, have been answered over and over. So I don't know what more we can do.
Well, let's talk about the audit. That hasn't been answered. Do we need the audits updated through 2024 to secure financing for this project?
I would have to say yes.
Okay,
And we're doing everything we can to get that accomplished. But
I don't doubt that, but the fact is, you're not gonna get the financing until those are done, and that's not gonna happen quickly.
But do you know exactly when we're going to need that money? We're trying to get to the bottom of that right now, and that question was asked at the last meeting.
Mhm.
And it was answered by the construction engineers that they would have a better plan for us sometime now in February or the next meeting when they came. And hopefully by then we can have some better answers as
And that's
well.
in a couple of weeks.
Okay, so in a
They're
couple of.
coming.
So we are actively working on this. I wish it was all done. I wish the state wouldn't have dropped the ball on the audits. I wish we wouldn't have had to go out and spend a ton more money on I-Bailey to have to do our audits because we knew we were going to need financing. And not only that, as a county, we don't want to run without current audits. So this is not something that we could help, and we've also had a change in auditors, and I think to put that kind of pressure on our new auditor, who walked into this and is doing the absolute best she can to get us to the point we need to be. I think we need to support our department heads. We need to support our auditor. We need to support our sheriff. We need to support these people because they are all trying to do the best they can to bring a project forward that has been voted on and decided on. And now we all need to get on the team here and let's work together and do the best we can to move this forward. Why are we fighting this still?
Because this project wasn't voted on, $46 million project was voted on, and 3 commissioners decided that they can go forward with the sales tax. That's what happened.
No, 3 commissioners did not decide. We used our state's attorney and we were informed, all 5 commissioners were informed that we could move forward.
I'm not disputing that fact.
Well, you just
You-
said 3 commissioners decided.
3
that
commissioners
it was-
made the decision. That's a fact. And I'm not disputing the fact that what you did was legal. I'm not suggesting that you did anything that wasn't legal. But what I'm suggesting is you made the decision to go forward. Yes, you had the right. That doesn't mean it was the right thing to do, and I don't think it was.
Okay, so I think this would be a good opportunity for us to look at our finances. For the jail project, so I handed out the county general. Balance statement for all of last year in 2025. And so if you look at the last page of the balance statement, we did go over our 2025 budget by around $62,000. But we did still have $310,000 that we brought in more revenue than our expenses were, which added to our balance for county general. So our county general balance at the end of the year was 3.9 million. I did print off the student activities report, which shows all of our fund balances. We're currently at 4.9 million in our county general fund. With the tax revenue we've brought in so far, and the last page of the student activities. Student activities report shows 21.3 million. That is earmarked in every account. And then the very last page of that stapled packet is our total money in the bank, including CDs and savings, around 27 million. So there is some extra fund for now until we can get our audits done. And we also could transfer money from county general to the capital improvements fund to get us to 5 million, which you had brought that up for the agenda item. So I guess that's a starting point for financing the jail.
Well, we're sitting here talking about moving forward and everything else, and I get it, we gotta be prudent, but to me, we haven't invested, I shouldn't say invested, but we haven't made any decisions on money or anything else. And until we see those numbers, you know, even if we don't have the funding, I guess they're there. You know, we can look at them and say, okay, now if we don't do it this year, what's it gonna cost us next year? But at least we'll have some correlation or figures or numbers, sort of I'll call it a guesstimate moving forward, what this might cost. cause there's no way we'll move forward without the audits, but at least. There's nothing wrong with getting bidding and everything else and saying, hey, well, we gotta put it on hold. So we're just being proactive and moving forward quicker than we do, but I get that's my opinion, but. Any,
Well, I mean, it was clearly studied that it's gonna cost us $54 million if we don't build a $22 million jail. And there's a lot of gray area in there. I mean, as far as we're gonna have to hire more officers for transport, we're gonna have more liability transporting. And that, when you look at that old big picture. You want a jail, you want law enforcement? The jail is, I mean, outside of the deputies with their education and their training, the jail is probably the most important part of that, of law enforcement.
I'm not opposed to a jail, and I understand we need a jail, or we need someplace to put people. But the 54 million you're talking about included a $12 million sheriff's office or transfer station or whatever they referred to it as. And it also assumed that you were gonna go up to 40 prisoners over the next 30 years. We don't know that's gonna happen. That's a projection. And if that jail sheriff's office was 20 million, is it safe to assume that we're gonna have to spend another 12 million? Is it safe to assume we're gonna have to spend another 12 million to give the sheriff's office an upgrade? Cut it in half, say it's 6 million. Where's that money gonna come from?
Comes down, do you want law enforcement or not?
It's not that easy.
I know it's not that easy, but that's what it comes down to. We're gonna have to give those people a place to work out of.
I agree, but we have to consider the big picture, and the big picture is we're gonna have to spend more millions of dollars for a sheriff's office, and that's a fact. Again, this thing is falling apart. Whether we remodel that or build something new or put them in a different building, those dollars are gonna have to be spent,
Absolutely.
and we have no place to get it. That's my point. Because it was included in the original financing, when it was put on the ballot. It is not included in this plan. So we're just setting it aside and wait for another day to deal with that issue, and I think it needs to be talked about.
Mr. Chair, Christina, how much money is in, or how much money is needed to take from the general fund to get to the 5 million?
It was 1.1 million.
Mr. Chairman.
oh, okay,
Right, that was my added agenda item, so it's 1.1 million if we go with our current balance that we have in the capital improvements and capital project fund as of today. But when we originally worked with this 5 million, when we worked with Christy Cobell on it, and we asked her how much money would we have by the end of, she gave us a sheet that said by the end of December 31st, 2025, we would have 5 million, okay? So I would really like to look at that December 31st, 2025 balance. And if we look at that, then we would need to transfer 1.4 million. And that's what she was always using, was money out of the general fund, because we had a lot of carryover, like you've talked about, Paul, many times. We had quite a bit of carryover in there. So she was using, I believe 600,000 for 24 and 600,000 for 25, but neither one of those balances got transferred, because with the transition of her leaving and the new auditor coming in and not knowing, the 600,000 never got transferred in 24. But it's still there. It's still there. So I guess I feel what would be right is look at the balance of, as of December 31st to 2025, what we had in the county improvement fund and the capital project fund levy. And that was approximately 3.4 million or 3.6 million.
3.6.
So then that means we should transfer that 1.4 over, just to keep everything clean. Because here's the problem, if we don't get that 1.4 put into the capital improvements fund, then we think we have it in our general fund as carryover, and we really don't anymore, because it was earmarked quite a while ago.
Paul,
So I just wanna make sure I understand. So you're saying there was 600,000 in the 24 budget to transfer from, or
It wasn't in the budget, it was what she was estimating would be,
could
that we
be,
would be over that 75% that we could carry. It was her estimate, basically.
okay, so but we're not over 75.
No, we're not anymore. No,
So that money has already been moved somewhere.
no, it has not.
Well, it must have been because we're not over 75%. I mean, something must have got moved.
In 2024, there was the 2.4 million. 1.4 was from ARPA funds and 1 million was from county general.
Okay,
So that happened in 2024, those transfers. So that's what brought you down to under the 75%.
and I,
That would have been for 23. Basically, at the end of 23, we were over that 75%.
in my
And then
review,
transferred in 24, excuse me.
in my review of the 25 budget, I know there was 500,000 in the 25 budget that was supposed to be transferred. I don't know if that happened.
No, it didn't. No.
So that was actually budgeted, but what you wanna do is draw down the balance of the general fund, or not the balance, but.
The
portion.
excess, yeah.
Carry over.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's not, and it's not what I want to do, it's what it was what was set up to do, but I just think, you know, with the transition of an auditor resigning, a new auditor coming in, some of these things just hadn't happened.
Wasn't there discussion in this last budget year for going into 26 that we have talked about the 3% cap and how we wouldn't have that 600,000? That's why the 26 budget was made a little easier because we were not looking at what we had done the year prior, which was the 600,000. Where's that number coming from? Cause you're talking 1.4 million, was that part of that, or was that separate?
That's separate and that's in the fund balance. So we had 3.9 million in our general fund balance on December 31st, 2025.
So how much is in the capital projects and capital improvement? 3.9, is that right?
In the county general. In capital projects on December 31st, there was 1.3. And capital improvements the balance has stayed the same at 2.4. Yeah, now it's at 1.5 with our tax revenue for January.
See, and I mean, I wasn't here, but it seems to me that 500,000 would have brought the 3.9 up to 4.4, and then the 600,000 from the 10 mills in 2026.
no fun.
Yeah, right.
We were supposed to have it by 2025 because 2026 is already allocated for debt repayment. The 10 mils.
I don't know, I mean, you're going back 3 years here, I don't know, but it doesn't.
Mr. Chair, I mean, from a cost perspective, I would like to see us be able to allocate, to start looking at some. If we're gonna be having money, sheriff's office or being able to start looking at that capital improvement from, cause it doesn't jive with me, 1.4 million, we still yet have to transfer.
Right, we need to be at the 5 million. We need to be at the 5, we've always talked about this 5 million, right? We have to be there. We were supposed to be there as of December 31st, 25. We just haven't made the transfer yet out of general fund to capital improvement.
We basically missed 2 years of transfers.
Right, right. And I did reach out to Krista Cobell and asked her, you know, I thought maybe the 600,000 got transferred into an incorrect account, but she said she doesn't remember transferring it. She didn't think she transferred it. So I met with Christie and she said there was no $600,000 transfer done. So it's there. It's just to move it so it's more clear from the general fund to the capital improvement fund. We should be able to look at our capital improvement fund and our capital project fund and say, there's the 5 million.
I agree with that, but wouldn't these transfers have been in the budget if these were planned? I mean, and like the 500 in 2025.
No, I think they were like end of year transfers or whatever, when you do it at the end of, they're
Right.
nothing about a budget on these.
She was expecting that we would have that excess,
Oh.
you know, over the 75% that we can only have in our general fund. And when you get to the end of the year, she was expecting that would be excess and we have to transfer that out. Now, we did budgeting a little different this year since you were on board, right? And we dipped into our, kind of our general fund carryover, I would say. So we don't have as much excess. We still have excess. It's not, we just don't have we're just not over the 75% where we have to move that money.
Kenny?
Well, to answer your question about the legislature, yes, we have gone to 2 different legislative sessions where we have looked at regional jails. We have looked at trying to get money from the state to fund this stuff, and they have said no. And it's been 2 different sessions that we approached it with. And we have met with how many counties? We've gone out to the Devil's Lake trying to get in on, they were looking at a regional, and nothing works.
Gonna be even harder now if our oil money and everything's down.
Why not?
And we sent the letter to all the other counties asking them to do a
I'm
regional
aware.
fair.
I just wanna make you aware of last Monday's. I sent 6 deputies out to do 6 different transports. Luckily, it was just to Grand Forks, but
Yeah.
you send 6 transports to Grand Forks and an hour, 45 minutes, one way to get to Grand Forks. Plus the time it takes to get them in and out of the jail. We're taking deputies off the road. A long time to get prisoners back and forth. So we're not only paying, we're housing them someplace, but we're taking deputies off the road to transport them back and forth.
Mr. Chair, I wanna make it clear, I think you all know, I fully support, we need law enforcement officers and we need. God bless them, but Grand Forks Children's Museum was gifted $5 million from the state. That's
Yeah.
frustrating to me, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
We're all
looking at it more from a vital service is something we do need. Is more and advocating, so my personal opinion is I don't think this is gonna change. I mean, you know, administrations tend to change what. Jails and how full they are and how many people are arrested, and I personally don't think that's gonna change anytime soon. So I just hope the state. Can start to maybe understand the needs and we're in front of this and maybe it'll come on the backside, but it's just. It's very stressful and concerning to feel like this is on our county's shoulder and our taxpayers'
It's
shoulders.
too bad, sometimes I think our state looks at if you're gonna get a grant or extra money, you'll get it if you bring money in, but if you're gonna cost money, we're not interested. And you can look at their history and it's sad to say. And what more important than kids programs, childcare, health, and jails?
Legacy, that's what it is,
Yeah.
that's what it comes down. If they take $1 billion out of that, what is it, 14 billion in legacy now?
There's more than that, they're taking 17 or
If they
18.
took 1 billion divided between the 53 counties, that's $20 million a county, right? I'm not sure. How many there?
Big numbers.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
They could easily fund this. Could have said we want to build a bit.
I think we gotta move on, guys.
Did we answer all your questions?
Yeah, thank you, Jenny, yeah.
I think I'm good.
Yeah, let's finish. We got somebody,
Well, are we able to transfer, is Christina able to transfer that money then to the capital improvement fund from the general fund to the?
who's supposed to vote, or somebody wanna make a motion?
Well, I'll make a motion that we transfer the approximately 1.3 or 1.4 million, whatever it is, balance as of December 31st, 25. Whatever is needed to get us to the 5 million.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
I got a
Oh,
comment.
okay.
I would be more comfortable if we transferred the 500,000 that was in the 2025 budget and did the 10 mills. The 670,000 in the 2026 budget, which would get us to the same place. And I'm just more comfortable with that, not knowing. The details behind the history, but I will say if you guys move forward with this jail. And you need that, you know, you start building without the audits in place or whatever, and you need those funds, they're still gonna be in the general fund, they're still gonna be available to you, they're just not gonna be. In the capital, so I would be more comfortable with just the 500,000 that was in the 25 budget. So I won't vote for this, but that's why I'm not voting for it.
Any other additions or whatever? Well, we got a motion that we transfer the 2 years to get the balance up to the 5 million Christie,
Yes.
Paul,
No.
Jenny,
Yes,
Amy,
No,
myself, yes. Motion carried.
Who seconded that motion?
I did.
Oh,
Staff turn.
oh lordy.
Make it quick.
And that's good for this one, because really, I feel like I need help from you guys, from the other commissioner when it comes to this it'll be for the next commission meeting. So I've been giving a lot of thought to our recent staff turnover, which now exceeds 30% of our total workforce. To address this effectively, I recommend we engage directly with departing employees to understand their reasons for leaving. High turnover isn't just a personal issue, it is a significant fiscal one. We must tie these departures to the actual costs of lost productivity and the expense of hiring and training replacements, an essential part of our responsibility to the taxpayers. So I'm gonna request Tanya, I've asked her if you could provide the total number of employee departures over the last 5 years. I'd also like us to analyze the specific costs of turnover and look into best practices and costs for conducting formal exit interviews. I have started some research into this and encourage everyone to do the same so we can have a more thorough discussion at our next meeting. I do have some questions or things to think about that I'll email each of you individually to just bring to our next meeting. I've talked to Tanya a little bit about this, and we have an exit interview process. I really feel like we need to relook at this and consider, with Ed's departure, it is insane the amount of, I mean, the preliminary numbers, it's like $18,000 for every employee that we lose in terms of turnover. When you talk with Ed, that gets into like 200,000 from the point of training. We talk about learning curve, we talk about all these things. So I just really feel we need to take another fresh look at how we're doing things, potential policy for Walsh County, and again, relook at things.
Mr. Chairman, I agree, that turnover rate seems alarmingly high, and we know our turnover has been high. But what I want to point out is I did some research, and the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. It says, turnover rates vary, of course, but, the government agency turnover rate is currently around 25%. So we're hovering right in that area. We're not unusual, I guess is what I'm going to say.
Tanya, you got anything to add to it, or?
No, I don't disagree. I mean, this has been a concern, right? I'm all on board with looking at this deeper. I think there's a lot of things in the interest of time. I don't know how much I wanna expand right now, but I think there are many factors impacting this, right? So I think it's wise for us to look into it. I think it's wise for us to maybe look at it from another lens, because the turnover rates everywhere, I think, and in particular, Christie, I appreciate that. I hadn't looked at that number recently as far as government. But when we have turnover, because of whatever reasons, we had some retirements, things like that. Those first few years that we have somebody new on board are the most crucial, and that's, I think, where we can look at saying, yeah, we've really struggled to retain those employees and those, you know, we're not keeping the new hires that we get to. So, I mean, I think we have to kind of look at all those angles, and so I'm all on board with looking at this, and maybe there's a fresh angle that we need to consider and things that we've not thought about, because our recruitment retention, that game right now is very different than it was, you know, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. So, yeah, in the interest of time, I don't know how much more you want me to say right now, but yeah.
Okay. Anybody got anything to add?
Well,
Chrissy?
I just thought of my added agenda item, so I don't know if you want me to talk about it now. It was in regards to this.
Well, if it's,
Okay, so, because we have had such a turnover and difficulty, you know, keeping employees in, say, for example, in the auditor treasurer's office, I've been doing some research as to what we can do there, like what kind of lifeline can we offer, what kind of help can we get? So I did reach out to, the North Dakota Association of Counties, and I visited with Linda. And I visited with Aaron Burst, and I said, we need a lifeline. Our counties need a lifeline out here. We need training for these employees. We're hiring new employees. And they get put into a very difficult position, not just the auditor treasurer's office, but even like the tax director now or wherever. And we need some training and we need the state to provide training or get these employees set up with mentors. And the mentor program hasn't worked very well. They've tried that. I'm not gonna say it hasn't worked well everywhere, but it hasn't worked well for our county so far. So Aaron Burst, I said, my focus right then was the auditor treasurer's office. I said, we've had too much turnover. We need some help. And we can't leave these employees out there feeling like I have this big job and I don't really have anyone to reach out to. So they have agreed to, and he said, actually, it's on the top of his list. They're going to try to get up some training sessions set up through the state where maybe it'll be quarterly possibly. So the auditor, the employees in your office, I'm not sure which, but you would go into quarterly training meetings in Bismarck and be able to have an open session with other auditors and treasurers and bounce off ideas and talk about what's coming up and for the state to give them training on different things that are coming up. So that they at least feel like they're not alone, you know, just to have some help. And then we also got Christina some names of employees that she can directly reach out to that maybe have Tyler software or specific things. So I think as commissioners, that's one thing we need to look at is if it's our portfolio, what can we do to help them out? And maybe we can get something going with the tax director too through the state, because Aaron said, Christy, it's not just your county. He said, we are having such a problem he said probably half the counties right now have new auditor treasurers, and he said we have a lot of people that are in need of training. So he said it's on the top of his list. He said expect to hear something possibly as soon as next week. They're just trying to get him and Danelle and Linda all together so they can set something up.
I guess I'll put a plug in. This is one reason we need a county administrator too. When you go through help like this and we're changing all the time, if you have one central person here that's all the time here, that sort of knows goes on daily, and I'm talking daily, I talked to a lot of department heads. We're missing that. They don't have, you know, where do they go? You're a commissioner here, but we're not here all the time. We don't know what's going on. So we're missing that, I'll say consistency. Somebody that's here, him or her or she, that these people can go to. And I'm getting feedback that a lot of them sort of miss that. Who do we go to? What do we do? Where's the leader? And you look at, I don't expect her to do it or anybody that comes in real quick to pick up on everything. But if you have one person here that's seen something go wrong in the auditor's office or seen something go wrong in the highway department, experience, you know yourself, what is it worth? And I really think that is something we need going in the future. I probably won't see it because this is, I don't know if we'll get it done this year or not, but I'll tell you what, when you talk to anybody that's got them, they don't know how they move forward without them. So I'll just leave it at that and we'll move on because we got.
Ernie, so we have that in our 2026 budget, so why are we not proceeding with it?
Well, like I mentioned earlier in the year, which we've had so much going on and stuff, but yeah.
I don't know if any of you talked to Ed before he left
I did,
to ask what his comments were,
yeah.
but he has worked in both with an administrator and without. And he much preferred an administrator. And salary was not the only reason he left.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good,
I think we're just waiting for some information from Tanya to
Yeah.
decide
Yeah.
what we want to do.
So just, I guess in the future, it's just, I figured I'd add that to it. I really think we gotta look at this seriously. You just look at it now, we had another 310,000 over in our, you guys always pick on me when I say it, but we got access. But you know what? I think in the long run, that person will save us money. I really do. Not only that, Tanya, you've been overwhelmed from us and some issues that probably shouldn't have to come to you that our administrator can take. You know, so it affects a lot of people. And I'm a big advocate of it and I'm not gonna back down. I might get defeated, but I'm not gonna back down because I think we need it. So, okay, Chris, we'll move on.
just, you guys pass that around.
That's just an example. Good morning.
Morning, Crystal.
So about a month ago, we had Andrew Fusel in here talking about FEMA buyout for his property. So I done some research on it and spoke with Todd drawers at the state, all that funding, for FEMA buyouts, it does need to be tied to a disaster. So currently, from October 2024, there was a wildfire disaster out in the western part of the state. So that is a hazard mitigation grant, so from post-fire, there are funds available to proceed with a FEMA buyout. The process that will need to be taken with that is we would, I've spoken with Andrew quite a bit about it. He would need to parcel off his property for what he's willing to, relinquish for a FEMA buyout. After he's done that, then we would go ahead and move forward with an application, and Todd would be able to work with us on that. Once FEMA approves that, then we'd be working with Todd and different people at the state to, move forward with all that once FEMA approves. So upon approval, we would move forward with appraisals and asbestos survey, abstract, legal, all that stuff. Basically, the county's position is we are the liaison between Andrew and the state. Andrew can't go to the state and do it himself, he has to do it through our county. Our position is we help them, we help in between, do all the paperwork and everything, we are the finance for it, so we pay it all. However, we do get reimbursed for it. So this is just an example that Todd had provided me when he was trying to explain it to me. So let's say, you know, his property that he's willing to get rid of is worth $80,000. The federal share is 75%, state share is 10%, local share is 15%. So we would end up funding everything to begin with. We would get reimbursed federally and state, and Andrew would be responsible for the 15% local. So then when we would end up paying him out, we would pay him less than, say, 15% of what we've invested into it. So that's kind of the process of how it works. So if we want to proceed with that, I would just need approval from you guys to go ahead, and then me and Andrew will work with Todd in filling out a FEMA application to go from there and see if we get approved.
You got anything to say, Andy?
Oh,
No? You, moving forward, you're in favor of it?
I first have to find out, but, you know, the
Yeah.
appraisals, how that it works.
Okay.
So
It's funny why, and I guess I'm just thinking, if there was money available, why didn't they ever let us know or something?
So we did just send out an email about it. The way that it's phrased in the email is that, you know, priority is going to wildfire mitigation, any of that aspect. So a lot of times you'll have funding for something that you can use for something else, but it's presented in another manner. So, yeah, no, that's why I told Todd, I'm like, it's really confusing, because I'm like, we haven't gotten anything about that specifically. He's like, well, there hasn't been a disaster pertaining to that. He's like, when there are disaster funds, if they're not being exercised in its entirety, we can use it for additional options and stuff.
Oh.
So there is option as well, so, I did speak with Todd about it, and he's gonna look into a little bit more, but what he advised is, so, you know, if we get the FEMA application in, he does get approved for it, we start moving forward, we do appraisals. You know, say Andrew decides that the appraisal for the cost of it isn't going to be worth it, you know, like, oh, well, you're only gonna give me, say, $30,000, and that's what I get if, you know, through insurance if they took my house. We can stop that at any point in time. But whatever we've done, we'll still get reimbursed since has already been approved and accepted, and then he would still be responsible for his share, so.
That was the question I had.
Yes, I made sure to ask that. I'm like, okay, well, if you wanted to stop this process at any time, can we do that? What are the financial responsibilities? So that's what we've been,
Mr. Chairman, so from what I'm understanding is our only responsibility, the county's only responsibility is basically administratively and putting the money up front. We get every dime back, so there is no cost to the taxpayer.
correct.
Okay, all right. thank
We're
you.
just the in-between.
Okay, and I'd like to say thank you for the research that you did on this. It's greatly appreciated.
The only other question I have is there are others like him that might be interested in this? I don't, but.
Yeah, they'd have to reach out, and each application would then have to, you know, be approved individually, so. Maybe we could have other individuals in the county say, this is something I'm interested in, we could go through with it, put in the application, FEMA can deny it, it depends on how much money they have available. and who they're giving priority to when the applications get in, how much the cost of the property is, you know. Todd said if you're looking over, you know, $100,000 for said property, cause they'll do your house plus an outbuilding if you so chose it. You know, and it's going to be in excess of this much, the application process can take longer to get approved. So it just depends. So when we were discussing, we were on a webinar with Andrew and Todd. And kind of looking at his property and discussing, he just wants a smaller section right around the house to be able to. Parcel that off, so, before, I mean, we can fill out the application and everything, but he will need to speak with. Tax department, get everything parceled off and pay for that prior, so that that is the parcel we're utilizing. And then after all is said and done, then we are technically owners of the property, so the county is, so it's just, you know, that little. Patch, however, acre, 2 acre, however much that parcel is gonna be, we just are not allowed to have any structures on it.
Do I have a motion to county being liaison and moving forward with this, I'll call it FEMA project or by?
Yeah. I'll make the motion.
Got a second?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second that we move forward with this process? Jenny,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Ernie, yes. I think that you got yours covered. Does anybody have anything else to add? Whatever.
Can I add one thing?
What?
Thank you.
Crystal,
Yep.
thank you, Andy. I guess I don't know if we've ever thanked you for serving as interim agency manager, so thank you very much. It's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, thank you. Public comment, is there any?
No public.
You were at first.
What?
We already talked about the capsule?
Oh, that's right. Forgot about that. Okay, and it's just a small one. Shannon Brazil from the Minto Historical Society called me and was wondering if we'd be interested in, they're doing a time capsule. And she was just wondering if we'd be interested to put some income or not income, input. I don't even know what they're wanting or whatever. I said, you know, let me talk to the commissioners and if they're interested, you could come and, you know, talk to us and see what you want or what we're gonna do. And I told her, I said, well, I'd be interested, but I said, I can't speak for the rest of the commissioners. So
Downfall would be.
I don't,
We're not talking dollars, we're just
just
talking,
see what it's at the time capsule and they're gonna put something in there for future years, I guess, is what she. So. If you want, I don't even know whose portfolio is on the historical. I didn't wanna step on anybody's, but she called me. I just,
I have no time, I'm not
I don't have any.
as long as it doesn't cost us anything.
Yeah,
okay,
well, that's what I told her too. I said, you know. Hopefully there's no financial, you know. And I could sure call her back. I don't care. I just didn't wanna step in on it. She caught me off guard when she called me. Cause I told her she likes to talk and I said, okay, this is only a couple minutes. So, well, I'll just get back to her. I'll just tell her we're interested and if she wants to come to a meeting, she's moving well.
I don't, is that a
It's not
portfolio?
on here.
I don't
Used
think
to be.
that's.
Was it? I thought it used to be. Okay,
Do we need to add it?
well,
They just come with it, budget.
Okay.
I'm in favor of her coming, you know.
okay. Well, I guess there's no public comment.
No.
Anything? Well, next meeting is, oh, no calendar. Next meeting is in February.
February
Meeting
17th.
adjourned.
Bernie,